let's look at the book. If you want to summarize some of the ideas of the book and how you want to take it forward within the context for people listening to us that probably didn't read the book, or I think they should at least get information about the book. So how do you summarize the book for people listening to us?
Yeah, let me, I can take a first shot at that, Dinis, and then I would love for Miklos to add to, again, what I try to at least give you a summary of the book. So if you start with a simple question on taking a look at, if you take a look at top 10 or top 15 highest market cap companies, and what are they over 50 years ago, 40 years ago, 30 years ago, 20 years ago, and now, there's a very interesting shift that's happened. 30 or 40 years ago, you would find that in that list, it was mainly oil companies, banks, pharma companies. And if you look at the same list today, obviously the amount or the total value of the market cap, combined market cap of those 10 or 15 companies has grown exponentially. But most importantly than that, the company's mix have changed quite a bit. You see a lot more companies that are digitally oriented, technology oriented. You can kind of guess who they would be. And if you dig deep into the companies that are creating the highest market cap today versus 2 or 3 or 4 decades ago, you would uncover a very interesting phenomena. That is, most of those businesses, not all of them, most of those businesses have some ecosystem-oriented approach to how they create value and how they deliver value. And you can name, we take the top 5 or top 10, and we can make an easy case that they have an ecosystem-oriented business as one of the bases, through which they're serving customers and they're serving consumers. So when we dug deep into that, and obviously when we say ecosystem-oriented business, and the definition matters, let me kind of define what we mean by that. Ecosystem-oriented business, in our view, is the entities, business entities, coming together either physically or digitally in the best interest of serving the end consumer, and bringing together their capabilities, their assets, their human resources, and all aspects of what they can offer, and really in the best interest of serving the consumer and what they wanted, and when they wanted, and how they want to consume it. In doing so, they're not just splitting the pie that's existing. They're actually expanding the pie with this ecosystem business, and he's sharing the expansion of the pie. To us, that's a very important definition. So with that definition, if you go back to the market cap companies I talked about, highest market cap companies I talked about, they all have an element of that, or a very strong element of that. So that's the basis of why we think when Miklos said this is one of the most consequential and really revolutionary thing happening in the global economy. That's really the basis that we believe in. Now that's great. That's what's happening. And now I'm going to just make 3 quick points, and I'll pause for Miklos to add. Right. And the question is, why is that happening, and what are the consequences of that? We believe it's happening because there is a lot more acceleration of technology. You can measure the number of patents. You can measure how fast things like GPT are getting adopted. You can give you lots of stats there. It's really acceleration of technology. And then second, in addition to that, that technology acceleration is also changing the way the consumers behave in terms of how they consume things. And as a service model, more shared economy, more shared ways in which you would use your services and things like that. So collectively, the technology acceleration and consumer behavior and consumer consumption patterns are the 2 drivers that are bringing a lot of barriers down. The supply chain barrier, the demand line barrier, the IT services barrier, all the barriers are coming down. Hence, the ecosystem evolution is happening while the traditional sectors that you see in the economy, 10 or 12 or 15 sectors of the economy, the borders across those sectors are blurring. So if you're a player in tech space, you're a player in the financial services space, you're a player in the manufacturing space, it's a lot easier for you with an ecosystem approach, go participate in a different sector that would have been harder to participate 10 or 15 years ago. So that's the thesis of how the market cap companies are evolving and where the value is getting created, and then why. The why is what we just talked about, right? Now, going forward, what do you do about it? Obviously, what do you do about it is you really need to figure out where you want to play in that ecosystem evolution, what role you want to play, and how you execute, that what and the how, what role. And that's kind of what we did describe in the book. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of a summary of the overarching themes that we have in the book. Over to you, Miklos.
Well, thank you. Just perfect summary, Venkat. I'm just adding a few colors here and there. Number one, to give you some historical feeling, since first, let's say, semi-advanced societies like ancient Sumeria has appeared with proper distribution of labor and specialization, the global economy have always been orchestrated in sectors, right? Because different type of services from, smithery to agriculture, they have different distribution, different data, different know-how, different supply chains. They always organized across how the industries make sense rather than what customer needs. And this existed for thousands and thousands of years. Occasionally, slowly, these sectors have been known to merge, right? When the appearance of supermarkets or just industrial revolution. But it was slow, multi-generational process, and many sectors have been unchanged for hundreds of years. What we are arguing now is that because of the reasons Venkat has listed, this change is accelerating beyond anything, even beyond what we normally accept already, technology acceleration, because these barriers are now breaking down at an astonishing speed. Those technology changes, everything what separated sectors, for example, unique distribution is now broken down by the change, by the appearance of smartphones, for example. You used to go to a different bank branch and a different insurance broker and you're a different retailer. Now you can get everything online. Anything what separated sectoral unique data with, big data, AI. By the way, this is why the book actually speaks quite a lot about AI. Obviously, not just ChatGPT, but the overall implications. AI truly reinvent and can create absolutely powerful cross-sectoral data and insights, which again changes totally, breaks down that barrier. Unique know-how, broken down. Supply chains, you can now disaggregate everything via marketplaces. So our argument is that there are all these interesting things happening on the surface, but the common theme among many of them, from blockchain to metaverse, is making it easier and easier to create cross-industrial journeys. And the thing is, customers want it. They always wanted it. They wanted it 10,000 years ago. And now that the barriers are down, what emerges instead? An economy which is orchestrated on fundamental customer needs. In the B2C part, it's about fundamental human needs. For example, people don't want mortgages or home insurance, they want homes. That's the fundamental need. So if you can create a customer journey when you can find your home, move in, finance it, maintain it, repair everything in one unified solution, of course you prefer that. The same way as we have seen in digital media, how people actually want to get end-to-end platforms like file sharers or streaming companies. So customers really want that. And for the B2B part, it's institutional needs. For example, organizations have the HR needs, they need to bring in talent, they need inputs, they need to obviously have financing. So these are kind of create very substantial groups. And our general statement is that we believe that the primary organization of the future economy will be huge, rather than traditional sectors, huge ecosystems collapsing and emerging around major customer needs. The rules of these games are vastly different than what companies have seen in the past. Competition is not for market share anymore. Competition is for customer ownership. Your goal is not necessarily to take share from your competitors, which is a zero-sum game logic, but it's more like grow the pie together. The winner is the one who orchestrates these ecosystems or participates in, who really can have unique data and unique customer understanding. And the companies who are not keeping up, they don't necessarily disappear, but they get disintermediated, disaggregated, commoditized, and even made invisible. And what we are also saying that we have run some numbers because we are, of course, at least I'm certainly the geek and the nerd and the number guy. Venkat is more balanced. We run some numbers and we try to understand how much of the economy can transform this way. And we basically looked at all the revenue pools globally. We disaggregated the one which is the distribution part of the economy. We looked at how much has already been digitalized, how much can be touched by an ecosystem, not necessarily owned, by orchestrated, touched, and influenced. And our results suggest that as much as $80 trillion of global revenue pools could be orchestrated by ecosystems in around 10 years' time, which would justify the multi-trillion-dollar bet by capital markets on these cross-industrial platforms, which Venkat has pointed out. These cross-industrial platforms are not just giving what customers want, which ultimately is the best recipe in economic history, but they are also doing it with light capital, incredibly attractive business models, and the magical ability to go out into a positive spiral. And that positive spiral is getting customer connectivity and traffic, therefore getting a lot of customer data, therefore being able to create true strong emotional connections with the customers. Therefore, you get even more traffic. And by this spiral, of course, you bring in growth. And if you bring in growth, you bring in capital, and then you bring in the best talent. And then, of course, you invest even more. And what we are fascinated about is how can we create from the kernels and existing businesses, even incumbent businesses, this positive spiral, which when kicks in, creates enormous value to every stakeholder, from the environment to shareholders to employees.